This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Mike, always appreciate your visiting with us on these Mondays. How are you today?
Oh, a little bit better. I don't feel bad about what happened over the weekend. I was checking out social media. There was a pretty positive reaction to how well they played. I think it softened some of the anger. I think most people are just glad that stretch is over now, and you're going to be playing some home games. I mean, you are sitting there at 0-4 at the bottom of the entire SEC with Vanderbilt at 0-4. But those teams that are down there just ahead of you, none of them have played Alabama, LSU, Mississippi, and A&M all in a row. And I still think some people don't understand the impact of that, of having to do that away from home. And that's all over now. It all now depends on these next 5 games. 4 of them are at home. And how well do you play? What's the crowd going to be like this weekend? Nobody seems to know. I was told they're within 2,000 tickets of a sellout, but they don't know how many are going to show up. But I think there'll be support there, and I think they'll play better from here on out. I think they played. I don't know if they'll play better. I think it's not going to be as hard to win football games from here on out.
Mike, I think, and I agree. I mean, I think that there are reasons to look ahead based on this performance, and even some of the others during this losing streak, and expect that you can have a successful back half of the season. In order to do that, though, you've got to. This 5-game losing streak, 4 of them are decided by one possession. You got a couple of 3-point losses in there too. It's like, how do you flip that? Is it a matter of that you've been playing better teams and that there are teams ahead of you that maybe haven't been making those plays? I mean, you've got to find a way to be the team that wins by 3 or wins by 6 because, man, I mean, you have this track record in Coach Pittman's tenure at Arkansas where those games generally have gone to the opponent. And right here in front of you, you see, fresh evidence that it's just they're a team that struggles to win that close game.
Yeah, I think you have to hope that the games don't come down to that you've got a bigger pad. If this defense continues to improve every week, and it has, it may reach a point very quickly where you only have to score about 10 points to win a game because that's how good this defense is. There have been some positive signs offensively the last couple of games. Yes, it's frustrating. It's very hard to understand how you can go 5 3 and outs from mid-first quarter all the way to the end of the third quarter. That just can think of that. Let that sink in, what that does to your defense for 5 straight 3 and outs. But then, out of nowhere, you have 2 back-to-back long ball-controlled touchdown drives that are perfect. And so what's the difference? Some of it was KJ. He just kind of put the team on his back. But, guys, the play calling was better. That one touchdown, the 14-yard, I think it was, touchdown pass to Binion, that wasn't your typical screen pass to a running back. That was he goes down and out and into the end zone, and he's open, and you hit him. And then I'm sitting there watching this thing with Courtney Mims where they go for the 2-point conversion, and I told her, I said, they're going to try to run it, and it's going to fail. And then they threw the little slant into Andrew Armstrong, and I'm going, where has that play been? Where's that play been on all these red zone situations, all these 4th down plays, 4th and short? Because I love that play. So hopefully they're starting to get a little more creative and change the play calling up a little bit. Because if you can just improve a little bit offensively, the fact that the competition's not what it has been and your defense just continues to get better and better, I just feel good about these next few games.
Mike, with the offense, how did you like that no huddle with tempo that they ran a couple times during the game?
Yeah, I liked it. And again, it's one of those things where you're saying, why don't they do something that's kind of similar to last year? And it takes this far to get to that point. But, yeah, at least you're there. And, Sam Pittman said Monday a week ago, in his press conference, he said, we got to move the pocket. He said it several times. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you know what? You didn't really do it intentionally in this game. KJ did it some on his own, but they still don't seem to get the concept that he's better getting out of that pocket where he's a target and getting out and rolling out on the edges. And I don't know if he's getting overruled or Enos is just saying, no, I don't want to do that, and he's going along with it. There's so many things that you'd love to be a fly on the wall in those coaches' meetings and try to figure out what's really happening there. But, again, I don't want to be too critical because I do think there's some good – they did some things like the tempo, like the play calling was altered a little bit. Everybody's been talking about we got to get Satenya in there. We got to take advantage. Well, they did. So are we going to see more of that? Hopefully.
I agree with you on it. Feels like me that there's been a little bit of a disconnect between some of the things that Coach Pittman has said throughout the week, and it's happened a couple of weeks where he talks about we've got to move the pocket. And it's not like he's saying we're going to move the pocket. He says we've got to. And it hasn't really happened later on in the week, and it makes me wonder if there's a little bit of a disconnect between him and Dan Enos when it comes to that thing specifically. Because I've been wondering myself, even the ESPN announcers, they were wondering about it. Move the pocket a little bit if you need some extra time. So I've felt that disconnect too, Mike.
There are all these questions, and like one of them is good. I specifically asked our guy over there today, ask this question. People are wanting to know what's the deal with A.J. Green. He's got that 6+ yards per carry average. Nobody else is even half that, and he's got half the carries of DeBinion, and nobody can figure out what's going on there. So I sent a guy over there today because some of the fans have saying, no, that's Jimmy Smith's call. That's the running backs coach's call. So we're going to find out. Who decides that, and what is the reasoning behind that? Because some have been saying that DeBinion, that Smith was the head coach at one time at the school where DeBinion came from. There's a bias there. There's all these questions that get asked, but you do have to say to yourself, what is that? When fans start asking questions like that, they deserve answers.
Mike, this defense has shown up week after week, and Landon Jackson put on a show. What do you expect going forward? I know you kind of jokingly said, the Hogs just got to score 10, but how good can this defense be for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I hope they can continue to improve. In fact, Matt, I found myself asking this question because somebody asked me over the weekend, is it harder? Do you have trouble when you have to replace both coordinators in one season? And I was trying to remember when that had happened. It obviously happens when you get a new head coach. But what I thought to myself was if Odom had left a year earlier and Travis Williams had been the defensive coordinator last year, not only would you have had a better season last year, but think about if this defense came back this year, having had 1 year under Travis Williams, I don't think the BYU loss happens. I don't think BYU could line up and score in the 30s against Arkansas right now. So they're getting better. Hopefully they can continue to get better, and then you sort of – when I talk to people about whether they want Pittman back or not, you know what? They all say, I just want Travis Williams back to see what that defense can be like next year.
Mike, who's the number 2 receiver on this team? It's obvious Andrew Armstrong is number 1. They got Tesla more involved in the offense this past weekend. 7 targets, 4 catches. That wasn't all on him for the 3 that didn't get caught. They've auditioned Tyrone Broden at times to be maybe the number 2. He had a case of the drops this past weekend. Jaden Wilson at times, but he's kind of disappeared. Is Satenya potentially, your number 2 receiver? Because I feel like you're still waiting for KJ to develop some rhythm with another receiver. He has that with Armstrong. He had that with Haz. I think it's been on and off with Washington. We saw it last week. We didn't see it this week. What about Satenya?
I mean, I would love to see it. You get all this stuff from people. Well, he's controlled on the line of scrimmage. He's not fast. He's not physical enough. He can't get open early. Whatever. Yeah, you'd like to see that. That's why that was an encouraging development. But with this law, I've looked at this over and over again, and I think some of that may be they're not setting him up for success. I think maybe his pass routes need to be different. He's going into heavy traffic, and he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he does have good leaping ability. He's got good hands. I think some of it may be just running plays that benefit him a little better because I think he's a good player. But you're right in that KJ tend to do a progression thing. He's going to look for one or two guys that he likes. And who's that going to be? And right now there's just kind of one that's there that's standing out. And there needs to be more than one for sure.
Mike, how impressed has Cam Little been this year? And our punt coverage and punt's been better, I think, this year than last year. But our field goal kicker's been he's been on fire this year. Oh
man, he is. I mean, when somebody asked me about would I be second guessing all these going for it on third and fourth and short? Yes, I would, because first of all, if you have this defense and their ability, Arkansas's ability to punt, which sometimes is 50, 60 yards, why would you try to go for it behind this O-line? So a part of that is, you've got a guy that can punt. You've also got a field goal kicker that if you get maybe just 10 yards inside the 50-yard line, you got a shot at a field goal. And, I saw some people talking on social media about coaches they wanted gone, and they had Scott Fountain on there, and I'm going, where's that coming from? Where's the problem with special teams right now? Are you serious? That's one of the best parts of this team. And, Little is just, he's amazing. He's got to be one of the best kickers in the country. And he's an interesting guy, too, because when he was being interviewed last week and they were asking about whether this team had kind of lost momentum, he had the best answer of any of them. He sounded like a coach. So he's been a real pleasant thing in the middle of a lot of depressive stuff this year.
What'd you think of Alabama? Is this to me that does not look like a team that's going to finish the season with one loss. I think they're vulnerable. It depends on who's ahead of them, but they get Tennessee this weekend. I think Tennessee could wear out that offensive line a little bit. They've got let me look at my Alabama schedule here. LSU. Who knows what happens with LSU? If they can stop Bama a little bit, they can score on them, I think. Kentucky on the road.
Yeah.
You think you see another loss there for Bama?
If you ask me what I think, as I sit here right now, I still think Bama will win the West, and I think they'll win the SEC championship game. I think they can beat Georgia this year. I think Georgia's more suspect than Alabama. Alabama has gotten better, and maybe Arkansas playing them that close gives people the impression that Alabama's not as good as maybe you thought they were. But they can be explosive at times. They can throw the deep ball. They can run it some, and their defense, you can't question that. So somebody asked me, is it business as usual this year? And I think it is. To me, I think it's going to be those two teams again in the championship game.
Yeah, I see Bama winning the West. That'd be a good matchup. If you get Bama, Georgia in that SEC championship game, you get a Texas, Oklahoma. You think that'd be the Big 12 championship game, the two incumbents, Texas and Oklahoma?
Yeah, you would think so, and then that would be interesting anyway. It'd be fun to watch. We'll see, but I still enjoy watching other teams too, so I'd look forward to that. I'm more of an Alabama guy than a Georgia guy. I have so much respect for Saban. I could talk all day about this guy. He's an amazing coach. The thing I love about him is that he takes 5-star athletes and works them like they're 2 stars and makes them like it, and just chews guys out left and right, and then they get on TV and talk about how they like to be chewed out. This guy's amazing.
I think he is amazing. I agree. I think he's a tremendous coach, and I think he's done a great job with this team. But I think that they could be a little bit limited offensively. I think they'll still win the West, but I have a feeling they may do that with one loss, Matt.
Hey, Mike, I just saw the preseason basketball. I do want to ask you a basketball question. Hogs are preseason number 14. You think that's about right for this basketball team?
It'd be okay if that's where they started, because I always believe that you're better off being picked lower, and it gives you guys incentive. But based on what I saw in that red-white game, this is a totally different team than it was a year ago. A year ago, you were relying really heavily on some very talented but inexperienced freshmen, and they don't have that problem this year. I think I told you guys last week that red-white game, one of the referees came up to me at halftime, and he was just talking about how much better this team is than a year ago in terms of having veteran players. They shoot better. They share the ball better. I think they're playing better defense. They played hard. They were worn out when that game was over. They didn't mind admitting that. So I'm really excited. I want to go to this game Friday and see, and I'm going to have a battle on my hands because they make me go out and shoot high school football on Friday night. I'm going, come on, I got to go to the basketball game. So I'm really looking forward to it.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.